I wanted to come and give you a look at what I was talking about in our most recent story. You hear the water rushing, you see it coming over the rocks there. This is Armuchee Creek. If you're not from North Georgia, you'll never look at A-R-M-U-C-H-E-E and pronounce it Armuchee. But that is how it is pronounced. We have a invisible R in our name. I'm down at the Iron Bridge just off Little Texas Valley Road, and this is the spot where we talked about in the recent story that the old Armuchee community at the turn of the 20th century, over 100 years ago, was generating their own electricity. Now you can see across the way there, the jetty, the rapids. That's the old dammed up spot where they ponded the creek. Across the way, you can see some ruins. Now, I'm not exactly sure what everything down here is as far as ruins. There's been a lot here over the years, grist mills and whatnot. But then you can also see slightly right over here, there's some stonework and whatnot on this bank as well. They all line up here with the old dam. But this area is where the creek was dammed, where the water mill was put into place. There was a grist mill here. Like we said in the story, ran a pants factory, ran a cooperage, several business operations that went on here, and the people also were able to create their own power. They, the businesses are who built the mill, and it was making enough electricity that they tied on their homes as well, because of the people who lived here or the people who worked here. So it was a good thing for their community all the way around. Now, as we start looking into community power, you're going to be hearing a lot more about that through ABG, and then also through some other channels that we'll be announcing at a later date. So you can see this creek, just a beautiful setting. Spring is beginning. We've already had the official first day of spring, but now we're getting into where stuff's starting to bloom. We're starting to see the fruit trees blossom. Dogwoods are starting to peek out. Those nasty, nasty Bradford pears have already come and gone, thank God. Now we're looking at the beauty of this area. Now, this creek, anyone that understands its sense of place, that understands home, that understands a place being important, if you're from Armuchee, this creek is important. It means something. It's a special place, and it is to me. Now, on a scientific level, on a physical level, this is no different than 1,000 other North Georgia mountain creeks. What they did here 100 years ago was possible on any of those creeks 100 years ago. And while I don't have any specifics, it probably did happen other places. That was 100 years ago, over 100 years ago. If we had communities that weren't wealthy, that weren't powerful, that weren't well connected, who were making their own power 100 years ago, we have to think of the possibilities that are there for us today. So when we start talking about places in South Georgia, in places in North Georgia, rural towns, and even some of the communities within Atlanta, I'm thinking of underserved places, I'm thinking of poor neighborhoods, I'm thinking of places that are facing gentrification, pricing them out of the markets. These kinds of places that can start to make their home more livable by community power. This is an opportunity that we need to be willing to look into, that we need to be willing to invest in, that we need to be willing to try. Like I said, we're not talking about shutting down major Georgia power plants. But places like Atlanta, places like Columbus, places like Savannah, we need large power plants. That's just going to be reality for us right now. And solar is not going to replace that, and even a water turbine in this is not going to replace that. What it does is it broadens the ways that we make power. It creates new ways, and it can help us to understand that this is a multifaceted problem. Generating electricity is always going to be here. We have to figure out how to do it. Coal is going away. We just have to face that. That's just not going to happen. with the coal ash problems, what's going on down in Juliet right now, where they have coal ash in their aquifer, poisoning their water, giving them cancer. We can't live like that. So we have to find viable alternatives. Some of that is going to be small places making small power for themselves, as opposed to just looking at big solutions. Big problem takes 1,000 small solutions sometimes. In fact, it does it most of the time. So our best options are going to be to find small solutions for that. That's going to be solar. That's going to be hydro. Small scale hydro. We're not even talking about big TVA dams here. We're talking about local stuff. Solar is going to be a really good bet for us in the South. We have a lot of sunshine, especially during the summer. You talk about the number of hours that the sun shines on our state. When you factor that with storage, you're going to have a lot of electricity that you can create, especially with new technology. So what we have to do is be open-minded, be willing to accept some new ways of doing things that, as we are learning, aren't nearly as new as we think. So I'm not going back to the old ways and solve new problems with old solutions. And that's just absolutely one of the best ways that we can do it. Absolutely. Look for ways that have worked in the past, and let's try them again.